I think, who was here last week? Okay, most of you. So I think Rajiv Bhai talked about the nature of the substances in the universe. And I'm going to just expand on that a little bit more. And we're going to do a little bit of maths today, I'm afraid. So if maths is not your favorite topic, you'll enjoy it still. It's my job to make sure it's enjoyable. So, just in terms of where we are, chapter 1, if you remember, was the categories of truth and knowledge. So we talked about all the different types of knowledge, and we talked about the nature of the soul in chapter 2 and the universe. Chapter 3 was about the hellish and heavenly regions, and chapter 4 as well. And then chapter 5 is about substances, okay, and how they operate. So what we're going to talk about today is, the 6 substances, which Rajiv Bhai covered last week. But I'm really going to talk more about the size. How big are they? How many are there? In terms of quantity. Can you divide them up? And how are they connected? Okay, and we're going to do this more on a kind of mathematical basis. So, what happens for the first time is we now connect the Tattvartha Sutra with mathematics, particularly with the word infinity. Right, and I think you'll be surprised with some of the things that the Jains have discovered in relation to infinity. Certainly surprised me when I started looking at this. So I am going to ask you to think. It's going to be very interactive. You'll be up in a minute. So make sure your thinking caps are on. If they're not on, put them on now, please. Thank you. Right. Oh, okay. So those are okay. So basically, the first thing is before we start something. This chapter is about substances, right? What does substance mean? It's like, what are we talking about? And what philosophers and people of faith are often saying is, okay, this whole world, we see so many things, but ultimately, what is it all made up of? If I keep on asking, where does this come from? What is it made up of? Does that make sense? What is the ultimate thing? And those substances are not just material things, but can be like, it's time a substance, is time a thing in itself. Beyond that, there's nothing that time is made up of, as far as we know, right? So this is the question: what is it that we are ultimately made up of? Okay, Rajiv has probably given you some of the reasons, but just to test your knowledge, what do you think? Just yell them out. What do you think we might be made up of? Just don't go with what Jains think. What do you think? I want to know what you think. Just yell out, yell anything out. I'm not looking, there's no right or wrong, I just want you to get your brain fired up. The difficult bit coming up later.
Atoms.
Atoms, good, very good. Next.
E equals MC squared.
E equals MC, we made up of E equals MC squared. No, what do you think we made up? That's what Einstein said. What do you think?
We just learned whatever is in the book, so maybe.
No, I want you to think yourself. What do you think we're all made up of? Particles, okay? Particles. So someone saying atoms and then particles. What else?
Energy.
What else? Energy. Very good. Energy. Very good. What else? Where do we exist? Are we space, right? 3D space. Yeah. Anything else? Soul. Okay. So maybe there's something beyond the material thing, right? Maybe we can't see it, but you can imagine that. Yeah. Maybe there's something that's beyond. Anything else? Time. Okay, good. All right, good. So let me just tell you what other philosophers say. So Socrates, basically this was before Socrates. They said we're made up of 4 elements: earth, water, air, and fire. You've probably seen this in poems and in books, right? They really much believe that we were made up of earth, water, air, and fire. Aristotle said that everything's made up of matter and form. So matter has to occupy some form. So he kind of came up with that philosophy, that there is matter, but it has to take place in some form, in some way. Descartes, he was a French philosopher, basically said there's only 2 things. There's the mind, and by the mind he meant the soul, but he used the word the mind, and the material and the body. And he said, a very significant philosopher, he said the mind and the body are separate. He was one of the first Western philosophers who said those are separate. Before that, everyone felt that actually they're all part of one thing. And then modern scientists, right, will believe in things such as atoms and quarks, right? Who said atoms? I don't know if you go down to atoms, there's quarks. And that interactive force is energy. So modern scientists don't believe energy itself, interesting, is a substance, right? Is an ultimate thing. They say actually it's the atoms and quarks, it's an interaction but the ultimate thing is the atoms and the quarks. Space, time, and gravity. Okay? So gravity comes in here with Einstein's equation, not equals mc squared, but comes in generally because Einstein said gravity is a thing in itself. And if you think about it, the Andromeda galaxy, which is the galaxy next to us, right? It knows we exist because it's exerting force on us. How does it know it exists? Just have a think. Every particle in the universe knows where the other particle is. Otherwise, how does gravity work? Can you see that? So Einstein said that gravity is actually something very fundamental, right? That just is. Okay. Everyone with me so far? Okay. Right. So the Hindu version is they say Prakriti, which means that actually there's just one thing. It's called the universal soul, and everything emerges from that. Everything emerges from this one. Okay, and you will see, people who are into Hindu religion will talk about the one source, the one energy, the one thing where everything comes from. They very much believe in that. Okay, you see that in their language. One of my very good friends, when you hear him, that's what everything comes like that. So all materials, waves, individual souls as well emerge from this universal soul. Buddhists, actually, very little from my study anyway, that talks about substances. All they talk about is whatever exists is changing. Everything is changing. And everything's related and everything is changing. There is no fixed substance. So let's not go down that route. Just think about everything is changing. Okay? Jainism, very definitive, right? Soul, matter, space, time, medium of motion. So there needs to be some medium for motion to happen, and there needs to be some medium for rest to occur. Okay? And that's where it comes from. And those last two, medium of rest and medium of motion, kind of ties up with Newton's laws really, because Newton says that unless there's a force acting on something, it won't move. And if something is acting on the force, it won't come to a stop until some other force acts on it. Okay? So it doesn't really contradict Jain Dharma in any way, what Newton said. Okay? And you'll see that we don't have energy here either, interestingly. Okay? Okay. Right, is everyone okay with that so far?
How did we go for space? As one of the...
Why is space not there? Or why is space there?
Why space is there? Like,
Why is space there?
In what relations is how do we correlate?
Yeah, we're going to come on to it in a minute, but basically, if there was no space, this is what Jain would say, there's no space, then how can a soul or material things exist? Without space, we can't exist. And he classifies that as an ultimate substance in itself.
When it says space in the universe, we are talking about.
Yeah, there's two, we're going to come on to that. But yes, within our universe, and then there's space outside our universe as well, which we'll talk about. But generally, just all the space. No, by space, don't think space in this room. Think of space as everything in the universe. And he classifies that as one space. It doesn't say space in Ketan and space in Kingsbury and space in nearby galaxies. It's just one space. Shall I carry on? Yeah.
What do you mean by medium?
Where medium? Very difficult to translate, I think. For me, anyone want to take a guess? Rajiv?
We discussed that last week. So medium means that, so for example, when you're driving a car, you got the accelerator and you got the brake pedal. Now, the brake pedal and the accelerator doesn't function by itself. You are the person who is going to decide whether you want to press accelerator or you want to press the brake. So essentially, when you want to have motion, that medium, that's called dharmastika, the technical term, which is the medium of motion and the medium of rest. That substance does not automatically cause things to start moving and things to start stopping. There has to be some volition of some other entity, either matter or consciousness. So a very classic example they give in the scriptures to make people understand is that if you've got a fish in a water, so let's imagine the water is the medium of motion. So the water itself, let's say it's not moving itself. The water is just there. But the fish, for it to move, it needs the water. Otherwise, the fish is not going to go from point A to point B. So that water has become a medium of motion for the fish. The water could be standstill. The particles of water. It's an enabler of rest. Yeah, that's right. So, for example, for the rest, it says that you're walking in a desert. You got a tree, and then it's got a shade, and you're very tired. So the tree is not making you stop, but because it's very, very, very hot, and you want to take a rest, that you're going to stop under the tree and just hold for a while. So it's become a medium for you to stop.
It's like gravity, which is also a medium for us to be grounded on Earth as opposed to floating in space.
Okay, I'm going to carry on. So what we're going to do now is that those 6 substances, right, in Jainism, we're now going to talk about size. Okay, does that make sense? Because how many types of material objects exist? Can time be divided? How much can it be divided? And so on. So we're going to talk about these things, which this chapter explores. But before we do that, I'm going to just talk about 4 things. Don't worry about remembering this. I will remind you later. But we're going to talk about 4 things in terms of numbers. One is something called finite but countable, which is called Sankhya. Finite but uncountable, which is called Asankhya. Infinite but countable, which is Anant. And then infinite and uncountable, which is higher of Anant, right? So this is already very complicated, I can see, but don't worry, I will explain it. But just kind of remember that very broadly. Is that okay? Just remember 4 things. That'll do for now. Okay. And then, and so I'm sure Rajiv Bhai did this verse last week, right, Rajiv Bhai?
Yeah.
So basically the first verse, basically, as you can see, it says that Ajiv, Dharma, Adharma, Akash and Pudgala are the 6 substances. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to try and do now is try and complete this, right? So, see the 6 substances? Yeah, we're going to say how many exist, how many souls exist. Can you divide them up? Can you, if you can take this, can you keep on, if you had a soul here, I know it's difficult, but could you keep on chopping it? Could you divide it up, or could you divide up matter? Okay, we're going to ask that question. Don't say yes or no, because you're just going by what you've read. I want you to really think. And how do they connect? Right? So without space, can matter exist? Well, we don't know. So we can ask these questions. Okay, everyone okay so far? So that's the table. That's our homework that we're going to do in the next 45 minutes. Okay? And as I say, for the new people who came in, you're going to have to think for yourself. Don't point to me the Tattvartha Sutra. I'm going to say to you, if you want to justify whatever, I want you to justify it with your own thinking. Right? Not just what you read. Okay? So, let's start. Do you know what this flower is, anyone? Very good, who does? And what's special this time of the year? They grow right now, right? So they've started to grow, and next month or so they'll be everywhere. And then they're only there for a few weeks, right? And then they go. Right? How many flowers can you see? Anyone? Anyone want to count? Any? 10. 11. Any more? 10. Maybe there's that one at the top that's just about to catch. Okay, so let's include that. So we'll all say 11, right? Easy to count? Easy? 11? Yeah? And what about these? If we went into Stanmore Country Park in 2 weeks' time, and we see these, right? Do you think we could count these? Yeah, it'll take some time. And maybe we'll say, look, Shelly, you count those on the left, I'll count those, and we'll tally it up, we'll cross-check it, and done. Yeah? Same as if I count the number of people in this room. We might get it wrong, but ultimately we'll figure it out. Am I right? So easy to count, okay? Everyone okay? So that's the first thing, right? Which is finite and countable. Okay? It's finite, isn't it? And it's countable. You can definitely count it. Okay? Your counting process may be error-prone, but give someone good at counting, they can count this. Okay, so remember that, really important. Okay, next. This is Nishma Ben's garden. And I'll say in Gujarati, નિષ્પાબેન આપણે બધા એને ઘરે બોલાવ્યા છે ચાય માટે, ચાયના નાસ્તા માટે. And આપણે બધા આવી ગયા અને નિષ્પાબેને કીધું, before you can have chai nasto, you need to count every blade of grass. Okay? And it needs to be accurate. Pechi chai nasto will be served. Okay, so now, what happens now? Counting blades of grass. What happens now? So we all turn up here and we have to count every blade of grass. There are definite blades of grass. Do you agree? It's not just one big splurge. There is definite blades of grass. What happens now? Tattvartha. It'll take you a long time, right? Okay, good. So you could count and count and count and count and maybe never get to the right answer. Okay, what else?
You can have some laser technology and you can count it with the laser technology.
So you could get some very clever technology that could count it. You could get an electron microscope, right? And that might be able to count it, right? But even the electron microscope could be error prone, right? And guess what? As you're counting, a new blade of grass might appear. Yeah? Or might not. Okay? And even if you did count it, probably it's very hard to be accurate. Am I right? But here's the thing though. We're all come from a science background. You can see Nishwaben has got a boundary around the garden. Can you see that? Yeah? I can predict, okay, if I can predict there are less than 10 million blades of grass. I can predict that. Am I right? Because it's in a boundary. I can say it's between 8 million and 10 million because I can see one blade of grass occupies so much space. I know what the boundary is. I can say it's between 8 and 10 million. Does that make sense? But I can't say exactly how much. So it's finite. It's not infinite, is it? It's not infinite, but it's fixed. It's fixed between two boundaries, but I can't say exactly how much it is. Are you okay with me? So this is what we call a finite number, but it's innumerable, right? You can't count it exactly, all right? And as I explain later, Mahavir Bhagwan was the first person to introduce this to us, to society. And I'll show you that in a minute. I'm not just saying that because we're all Jains. I'll demonstrate that to you later on. Okay, same question. You know, sometimes kids say, how many grains of sand on the beach? Same thing, right? Same problem. Because the beach is fixed. This is Mombasa Beach, right? Which is where I was born. Shalin was born there as well, right? So it is fixed, right? But it's going to take you a long, long time, right? Yeah. Okay, so it's impossible to keep track. We can give it a bound, but we don't know exactly how much. Okay, example: amount of sand on a beach, blades of grass in a garden, molecules of oxygen of atoms. Let's count all the molecules of oxygen in this room. It'll take us forever, right? And we'll never be accurate. Everyone okay so far? Okay. Right. The third number then. Okay. So let me just show you this video now. If I can get it to work. Okay. So. Okay, so I'll start, before I start this video, I just need to give you a little story. I had about a year ago, about 8 months ago, I had a bacterial infection and I had to be at home. So I decided to stick YouTube on, and there was a World Science Festival, 2014. Well, let me watch it. It was about infinity. Nothing to do with Jainism, about infinity. And they had the best professors in the world, and they have 4 professors, and they talk about the latest thinking in infinity. And I was sitting on the sofa, and then I heard something, and I literally jumped off my sofa, right? And this is what happened.
Over to India for a moment and see how things look different over there. We go to the great founder of the Jain religion, Ahimsa, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Mahavira. The Jains weren't famous just for that, though. They also did incredible speculation on the nature of the infinite. As far as we know, by 400 BCE, the Jains had introduced a notion that hadn't been used before, the difference between that which goes on without ending and the truly limitless, the truly endless. They also began to distinguish orders of infinite. So there's infinite in length, infinite in area, infinite in volume, So amazing comprehension in India some 2,400 years ago.
That guy is like one of the leading guys in this area, right? He's a professor in this area. Okay, so as you can see, I'm not just saying that. This is and all those other things about finance and so on, complicated. But if you go into Google and type in infinity, and you'll find a guy called George Cantor, 19th century. And what Mahavir said, he came up with in a logical way in the 19th century, right? Thousands, many hundreds of years after Mahavir Bhagwan. Okay, so he started measuring, talking about infinity. So now we're going to go into infinity. So far we're going into finite, right? Finite, countable, finite, uncountable. Did you get those two? Grains in the sand, uncountable, but still finite. They are definite finite numbers. Okay, so the third number is what we call infinite but countable. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can keep going. Can I keep going forever? Anyone give me a very large number? Ramesh, before you go to sleep. Large number. Very large number. Give me a number though, not than zero. Just make up any large number.
Bank balance.
Yeah. 100 million. Okay, how easy it is to get a number bigger than that? What do you have to do? Add 1, add a 0, right? 100 million and 1. So you can see that in terms of counting numbers, right, it can go on forever. You give me any number, I'll add 1 to it. Am I right? So this is what we call an infinite series, but they're countable. Can you see that? I can count 1, I can count this, I can count them. I can count each number 1 at a time, Can you see that? Right, so this is what we call infinite but countable. The same with the series 2, 4, 6, 8. Infinite but countable, right? You can keep going on and on and on. I can count every number, right? Everyone okay with that so far? Infinite but countable. Okay, good. Right, next. Right, this is where it's going to get complicated, okay? So, actually, let me do this, alright. Okay, we're going to break into groups now. So, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have 4 groups. So who was born between, birthdays are between 1 and 7, right? So like I was born on 3rd of May, so my number would be 3. Whose number is between 1 and 7? Hands up. Okay, well, 1 and 7. Can I have them in this corner, please? Up you get. Right? 2 and 12. Anyone from 2 and 12? Not 2 and 12. 1 and 7. 8 and 16. Anyone from 8 and 16? 8 and 19. 8 and 19. Okay, 8 and 19 here, please. And then 19 and 24. Anyone? Okay, then you go on the back on the right. And then 24 and 21. Anyone? How many? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, you can go on the back on the left. How many do you want to try? 3. How many? That's low. Can I get 4? Shall I end that with 5? Okay, that's fine. Okay, good. Right. Easy, right? Dal, rotli, binda, misha. Okay? That's on your menu. Alright? Right. How many choices of meals do you have? Right? Keep this. This is a competition. So let's see if we can get it right. How many? So keep it quiet. What choices of meal do you have? Right? Can I have your answer, please? Have a think. 2 minute, 3 minute think. What choices of meal do you have? What can you eat? What combinations can you eat? Have a thought. What combinations of meals can you have? If I say this is on the menu, right? Dal or binda shah, what combination do you have? You don't have to eat everything, do you? Yeah? What are all the different? Well, that's what I'm I don't want the answer, I want not the logic, not the answer. Ready? Ready? Did you answer? Ready? Are you guys ready? Your answer? Ready? Okay, we'll go with this group. What's your answer, please? By the way, whatever your answer is, stick to it. Please don't change it. Can I have an answer, please?
He says 10.
He says 10. Okay, good. So we have 10 here. Your answer, please? 7. Your answer, please? 11. Your answer, please? 8. Okay. So let's start with 11. Where's 11? Okay, let's have your answers then, please.
It's like we can have single.
Yeah, you can have dal on its own, roti on its own, and bin and shak on its own. Yeah, bin and shak on its own, maybe not very appetizing, but maybe for some people. Okay, so that's 3. Where are the others? 11. Yeah, so you got others.
Then you combine 2 each.
Yeah, so
Like dal and roti, dal and shak.
yeah,
So 2.
roti and shak. That's another 3.
No, not 3. Because you can have dal and roti and you can have dal and shak.
Yes,
Then you can have roti and shak
yes, that's 3.
and you can have roti and dal.
No,
No, that's the same.
If you have roti and dal and roti, it's the wrong thing. Okay, so that's the first thing in logic, right? That actually that does. I didn't say in order, right? So there's some knocked off there. Who was 10? 10. Did you do the same?
Same logic, yeah.
Same logic. Okay. And you were 7. Okay. Tell us your 7.
I said individually, down and dinner set.
That's 3. Yeah.
Then combine two each.
Yeah.
That's 3.
Yeah.
Then all 3 together.
Yeah. That's your 7. Yeah. Okay. So that's your 7. And these team, I think, are going to tell us what's missing from that 7. What's missing?
Not anything, plastic.
Right. Not having anything is a choice you have. Okay? Not having anything is a choice you have. So you actually have 8 choices. Is everyone okay with that so far? Everyone okay? Alright, so now I'm going to make it a little bit more complicated. So there's the 8, right? There's the 8, just for checking. Nothing. Dal, rotli, binda and shak, dal and rotli, dal and binda, binda and rotli, dal, binda and rotli. Okay? Alright, good. Right, here we go. 4 things now. Dal, rotli, binda and shak, and dal. Okay? Just have a think about what choices you have, please. I'm looking for a number.
Because there were 3.
A bit more difficult now, isn't it? Right? Because you have to do all the combinations. Okay, I'm gonna move on. So I have your answer, please. Number? Still working, okay? Number? 16, your number? 16, you sure?
I think it's 15.
15? Going for 16 as well, right? Okay, so the thing is if I start having 7 items on the menu, it's going to get really complicated, right? So basically, it's very simple. The formula is 2 and then the power of. So whatever items you have, 4 items, the answer is 16. Okay, I haven't written all of them down, but that is how it's worked out. Everyone okay so far? And this is the 2 to the power of, it's called a power series, right? And in Tattvartha Sutra, you start seeing power series in the appendix, right? Swami Bhagavan actually conceived this idea, or Umaswati conceived this idea of power series. Umaswati would have taken that from my book. So now, can everyone okay so far? You're probably thinking, so what? What's this to do with Jainism, right? And 6 substances. Okay, so this is the difficult question. If I give you an infinite list to choose from, right? For your menu, an infinite list, how many items? What number of items can you have? I know the answer is infinite, right? But it's a bit more complicated than that. Okay, I'll give you a minute to think about why it's so complicated. So you have an infinite number of items, just goes on and on and on. And now I'm saying the same question. How many items? What choices do you have? Well, you definitely have a choice of having nothing. That's true. And you have a choice of having everything, which goes on for infinity. But actually a bit more complicated now. Okay? So I'll give you 30 seconds to think about what is this number then? What is this number then? Yeah, but it's not infinite, is it? The list is infinite, right? But what about the number itself? Can you count it?
No, you don't know what the power number equals. So.
Okay. So again, in Tattvartha Sutra, this is the problem that we now encounter. Well, actually not a problem, but it's an interesting thing. So if you take 2 to the power of infinity, right, you end up with an infinity which is a bigger infinity than just that countable infinity. Okay? And to get your head around this, think of it like this, right? You say, okay, I've got an infinite list, so I'll tell you what, I'm going to definitely have dal. I love dal, I'm going to have dal. Definitely, okay? But with dal, I'm going to choose whatever I want to choose. You know, so first I'm going to choose rotli, I can choose that, and then I can choose, I'm going to count that. I'm going to count the dal, I'm going to count dal and rotli, I'm going to count dal and banana sharp, dal and pat. Can you see that? And I'm going to keep counting. Yeah? And because it's an infinite list, I will never get past this list itself. I will never get to the banana sharp list. Can you see that? I will never get to that banana sharp list because I still am counting this list. Does everyone understand? This is what we call the concept of uncountable infinity, right? Which is a thing that Mahavir Bhagavan introduced. An infinity which is a higher infinity than this countable infinity. Okay? Is everyone okay with this? Okay? I did a course on this, and it was a 10-week course on just this. Okay, so if you're okay with it, it's fantastic because I wasn't okay with it for a long time. Okay, I'll give you another example of uncountable infinity. Okay, remember the counting numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. If you think of what we call the real numbers. Okay, if I say to you, think of everything with decimal places. So let's think of everything with decimal places. So between 1 and 1.1. Yeah. So, yeah, give me a number between 1 and 1.1. 1.05. Give me a number between 1 and 1.05. Give me a number between 1 and 0.04. Okay? And give me a number between 0.03 and 0.04. Now, can you see that if I was to include the decimal places, everything between 1 and 2, I could keep counting and counting and never get to 2. Right? So this number, list of numbers with real numbers, I may never get past 2. So this list of numbers that includes everything beyond 2 and 3 and 4, 3.1, 3.2, I'll never get to it. So this is what we call an uncountable infinity. Because every time I try and count it, there's something else in the middle. Every time I try and count it, there's something else in the middle. Can everyone understand that? Really, really important concept. So this is what we call uncountable infinity. So now we have those 4 numbers, right? Which I'll just go back to. Okay, and then we're going to do the exercise. So we have finite but countable, right? So like number of flowers on that, on a tree. Finite but uncountable, number of blades in Ishmael Ben's garden. Remember that? Infinite but countable, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can count every single number, can't you? It's infinite, but you can count every one. Then the infinite and uncountable, right? Like the menu choice we had, right? Is everyone okay so far? Okay, good. Right, here we go. Here's your work. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you, each of you, these 4 cards, okay? So there's your 4 set of cards. You don't think too much. Okay, which are those 4 things? Right. And then I'm going to give you a question. Right. So like I say, I'm now going to ask you this question, right? And I don't want you to say, I read the Tattvartha Sutra, and this is the answer, right? I can do that. Anyone, your 7-year-old son can do that, right? What I want you to do is tell me what is the answer, and I need a proof. I need you to tell me why you think it's the answer. I'm not looking for the right answer. I'll tell you what the answer is. I want you to know your own thinking. Does that make sense? So first of all, amount of souls. How many souls are there in the universe? And don't tell me that's what I read. I want a logical reason. Is that okay? And I also want you to tell me that if I could subdivide, can I subdivide the soul? If I can, how much can I subdivide it to? Can I divide it infinitely? And which one of those is it that I can divide the soul into? Is that okay? So all I'm looking for you is to raise a card in a few minutes with your answer. Is that okay? Have a discussion. 3 minutes, 4 minutes on the soul. How many souls are there in the universe? And if you took one soul, how much could you subdivide it? I need logic, please. Otherwise, you get 0 points.
The souls are finite, they're there. So it's finite but uncountable. Think about it. So do you want to say it's fixed number? Yeah. But finite. They are there.
Okay, 2 minutes.
Oh, sorry, no, wild. I
Okay, 1 minute. I need the answer. 1 minute.
I'm sorry, not why is it not finite? Not uncountable. I'm saying it's fixed. You need to be
Yeah.
In your next life, it doesn't.
You think like a Western
It's not about whether souls go forever, it's how many are there in the universe. How many are there in the universe? Okay, that's it. I'm afraid. I'm going to ask you to hold up a card, please. Each team, can I see your color of your card, please? Up. Okay, this team. Final answer, please. Can you hold up your card? Right, final answer, sorry. Anyone like to cut? Okay, so this team is going for infinite but countable. This team is going for infinite and uncountable. This one is going for infinite and countable. This team is going for infinite, finite. Okay, all right. So the people who say, right, finite but uncountable, right? So you think there are a fixed number of souls in the universe, right? Yeah, it's not a fixed number of souls, right? What is your argument for that?
Well, I don't really know.
I did say I need an argument.
Well, I mean, it's just a massive number of souls.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a fixed number.
It's a fixed number. Okay. Anyone just using your thinking, why would you say that it's possibly wrong? What would you justify to say that it can't be finite, it has to be infinite in some way? What would you justify? How would you justify?
I don't know. I was thinking like the bacteria or something. It keeps on multiplying.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you say it's finite?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's so basically, how can
every
you?
second or every keeps on.
Okay. Okay. Fine. That's fine. Anyone else?
I just believe that, for example, if a soul it's fixed in some respects because at any one time, I don't know how to explain, but there is a fixed number of souls in the universe.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Anyone just show some logic on why that could be wrong? You know, I'm not saying it is wrong. We don't know what the real answer is. Any logic? So one thing would be that if there were only finite souls, right, and time goes on forever, at some point everyone, you know, most souls would get to Sichla because this time is infinite. And then therefore there won't be anyone existing. The fact is that from what we know, and maybe we're just in a special time, then after that there won't be anyone living in a material world, everyone will be in Sichla, right? So that could be the contradiction to say, well, if that's the case, then we must be in a very special time, right? Because at some point there won't be anyone there. Does that make sense? Okay? Right. So the people who said finite, infinite but countable, which are these two groups, I think, and those two groups. Okay, why did you say that? What's the justification? Infinite but countable.
Souls don't die, and you can't divide it.
Okay.
So it's just like the number.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can carry on and on and on.
Yeah.
But you never get there. But that's it. There is no in between. Like between 1 and 2, you can't put a decimal point.
Okay, good. That's very good justification. And you guys were infinite and uncountable, right?
Well, we were acting a little bit.
Oh, you are split.
We were split
Okay.
like within ourselves. Yeah. Between the uncountable or countable.
Okay. So I think Rajubhai's answer is, I mean, that's the argument I think we use, that each soul is an individual. They are infinite, but actually I can go and start counting every soul. There's one soul here, one soul there, one soul there, one soul there, one soul there, one soul there. And now within you, there is, if I count all the bacteria, red blood cells, I can start counting one at a time, right? It'll take me a long time, but I can count them. Okay? So I can go around and count everyone. So it is countable infinity, according to Jain. Okay? Now this is the interesting part. If you took a soul, right, could you actually break it into pieces? Could you actually kind of divide it, okay? And I thought you couldn't, but what according to Tattvartha Sutra anyway, so the first answer is infinite but countable, right? What it says in Tattvartha Sutra is that the soul is actually made up of pieces itself, but they're innumerable, like the grains of sand. You know, you could never ever get to the last piece that the soul is made up of. So you could the soul is made up of innumerable amount of things, right? But you can never find out what that last bit is. It's like counting number of grains, a number of items of sand on the beach. Okay? And that we're going to have to take the word for it. It's hard to kind of contradict that or agree with it. Is that okay so far?
Ketan, can I just
Yep.
interrupt you here? So what they say is that you can't divide a soul, but depending on the size of the entities, for example, in a bacteria, it can aggregate itself to that small tiny bit,
Yes.
and if you are a giant, it can aggregate to that, because it covers the whole
True.
entity. So that is how all these particles get together to form or to animate whatever entity that it occupies.
Yeah.
I think it's slightly different. What he talks of is Pradesh, the
Yes.
technical term. And what Pradesh means that if you have an atom, with an atom you can say, let's divide the atom into two. So you can actually say that. So when you have something which is a soul, which is a single entity, you can't divide a single entity into two. It's like one whole.
Okay.
But you can conceptualize and say, I can do it just like a £1 coin. You can't say, okay, I've got a £1 coin, it's the same as 10 pence coins. Then if I tell you, give me 20 pence, but you say, I can't give you 20 pence because it's a single £1 coin.
Yeah.
So you can conceptualize by saying
Yeah.
that a £1 coin is made up of 10 pence coins.
Yeah.
So it's a theoretical notion saying that even if you've got a soul which is the size of a very, very small, you can still think of subdivisions within that soul.
Correct.
And it's a conceptual notion,
Correct.
not an actual
Yes.
subdivision.
So it's again how you interpret it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think all those interpretations are true. Okay, let's go to the next one then. Matter. Okay, matter. So there's atoms, all of those things. So I want to know if I went to count how many different types of matter there are in this universe, the whole universe. How many are there, and how many could I subdivide them into? Okay. So the first question: if I went and started counting amount of matter, how many types of matter will I see? Okay, so I'm looking for your card again in your discussion.
Everything you see, the whole universe, even in space between the stars, is made of water, and then this.
Again, guys, we're kind of short of time, so it's a difficult one. It will be 1 minute. I need an answer, please. Okay, 20 seconds for your last answer. Doesn't know what the answer is. Some logic. Okay, what's your answer? Infinite and uncountable. Okay, going for yellow here. What are you guys going for? They're going for infinite and uncountable. You don't have to copy them.
Will be different.
How many weeks can we get for this?
We're trying to squeeze like maybe a 1 year course, right, in 1 hour, to be honest. If you just go on the mathematical side of this. What would the answer?
Finite, uncountable.
Finite, uncountable. Finite, uncountable. Okay, so what's your justification that the amount of matter is finite, right? You know, it's not infinite, it's finite. You can count, then it might take a long time, and you can keep on counting, but it's definitely finite. What's your justification?
Because it's matter.
Because it's matter, right? And then
It has
it's
got kind of
fixed.
form.
It's fixed in what? It's fixed in space.
Fixed in space, it has got a form which you can have like a physical appearance or physical characteristics.
Good.
Kind of.
Can't create or destroy, but it just changes form, so you can't create or destroy it, and there's
It transforms
It's
into
finite.
something.
Okay, good. Is that similar logic? Okay, for the people who said it was infinite and uncountable, what's your logic?
So we thought about what they were saying, but it kind of didn't make sense when we thought about the soul, because then it was like, well, how is it different? You know, so why can't it be infinite as well?
Okay. Okay, so if you use the same logic, you use based on that foundation, you say, well, if the soul is infinite, why can't matter be infinite? Okay, good logic. Yeah. Your logic. Go on.
So similar to what they're saying, that everything around, not just soul as
Yeah.
such, but even ajif is matter.
Yeah.
So it's infinite and uncountable.
Okay. So the one of the foundations on your logic would be, right, is space finite, right? And I think we can maybe say space is finite, right, in terms of size, right? Even like in this room, space is finite, right? In this room, right? We'll come on to the other space, but right? And therefore you say that only so much bits of material can exist in this space, right? That would give you your conclusion. What Jains are saying is that actually material can exist at the same time, different material can exist at the same time in the same space. Different material can exist at the same time in the same space. Now remember, when we are thinking of material, we are thinking of physical things. What about waves? What about waves? What about photons? That's a photon is a physical thing that exists as a wave. Can you see that? Okay? So what Jains are saying is that actually material, right, when you get down to the minutest bit of material, can exist in the same time in the same space. So a bit like the same thing with those food choices. Remember the food choices? You got infinite. You can choose anything. That material can exist in any place at the same time, and therefore you get the answer of infinite and uncountable. Okay, everyone okay so far? All right. I'm not saying that that's the logic. Okay, you could have arguments about it, but I'm just telling you what that logic is. And then think about material. It clusters up, doesn't it? It clusters up. So lots of material clusters up to make something very huge, like a galaxy. Right? And we know within our space, well, we don't know, but we can guess within our space we have, 500 million galaxies as a minimum, maybe a billion, maybe a bit more. But that's finite. Okay, so you could have things that are numerable, you could have innumerable, or you could have infinite. You could have things that are individually existing in the same space as something else, and then you get the same infinite problem. Can you see that? So it depends how the material clusters together. Everyone okay? So this answer is a bit more complicated in terms of divisions. It could exist in many shapes or forms. Is that okay? All right? Okay, next question. Space. Okay, how many types of space? Right? And can you subdivide space? Right? Can you subdivide it to finite, get it to finite, and then you can't divide that space anymore? Or can you keep dividing forever? Is it the countable dividing or the uncountable dividing? Okay, as well. So I'll give you another few minutes to think about this. After this, I promise you, your brain won't hurt. This will be the last big one. You can have a number as well, right? If you just want to give me a number, that's fine as well. You don't have to use one of those cards. It could be a number like 1 or 2.
Space.
Outside the Takshashila also there is space exists.
Okay, yeah.
For how far it's going, we don't know.
Okay.
There's
Yeah.
infinity.
Yeah. That makes sense.
What about countable? Is it countable?
No, because we don't know how many numbers are there. So how do we know
Okay. 20 seconds. Remember, there's 2 questions. How many, and can you divide it? How much can you divide it by? Good logic. Okay, I'm going to stop, I'm afraid. Your final answer, please. Give us 2 answers again. Infinite, uncountable, and totally countable. Okay, good.
You know which number it is, how many?
You can give it a number, right? Like 1. Okay, 1. Okay, 1 or yeah. What was yours? Finite,
Finite.
but uncountable. Okay, so stay finite amount of space will be uncounted. Okay.
Same.
Finite, uncountable. Okay. And countable. What's the number? Uncountable. Okay. All right. Good. And what's your logic about why you all think that there are many types of space? Do you? Okay. Give me. There's. I can see this space. What's the other space then? Where's your logic?
Well, I think like you just look at the Jain universe, you see the space is just within.
Yes. But you're saying there are many types of space. Is what I've just heard. For most of you, you've said there are many types of space. Like there are many types of materials. We discussed that. Now you're all saying to me there are many types of space. What's your justification?
So if we say those are the boundaries,
Yeah.
then the space is within that, so it's finite.
Yeah, is it just one space or is there many? Is there space 1, space 2? No, I'm not doing my division yet, but how many spaces? Only one space.
Oh, okay. And are you looking for how many? Then we
Yeah.
decide finite and uncountable.
Okay. I'm not saying can you divide it up. I'm just saying how many types of spaces are there?
One.
You're saying 1. Okay.
Space is space, regardless.
Space is space. There's just one space, right? Okay. Okay, good. Right. So actually, Jains believe that. Okay, we believe there's only one space. Like there are multiple souls. Remember that? But space is only one. You can't go and say space 1, space 2, space 3. There's just one space which exists. This is the universe, right? In this space, right? And there is actually another space outside this universe, but actually within the universe there's only one space. Okay. Everyone. Okay. So now in terms of subdivisions. Okay. What do you think now? I just take your answer. So if you take the space, could you start dividing it up? The first answer is yes. I mean, here's a room. I've just divided the space up into this space 1 and space 2 outside the room. But now, how much can I keep on dividing it by? Any answers? Any guesses? How much? If I keep on cutting this space down, make a small room here, then cut it in half, then make another room, cut it in half. Could I carry on forever, or will I stop at some point? You could keep on cutting it and cutting the space and cutting the space and cutting the space forever.
You are not going to the second part.
Okay. Anyone else? So space is 1, okay, and what in terms of dividing it up, cosmic space, which is this space inside our universe, right? You can keep on cutting it and dividing it and counting it, but you will never. It's innumerable. It is finite, but you just keep on counting and counting and counting and counting and counting. But according to our scriptures, like the other example, you can actually get down to a finite amount, but you'll never get there. But you'll just keep on cutting it and cutting it and cutting it. Okay. So is everyone okay so far? Okay, good. Now, so the hardest part is done now. So you can all relax. Okay. So now, I'll just give you the answers to the other thing. Time. Again, Sandeep and Rajiva, you may want to come in here, but from my reading and my study, it's not clear whether it's 1 or whether, I'm not sure how it is regarded. So I put a 1 question mark. And also, James believed that time itself is divisible to a finite number at the end. You can't, you can keep on cutting time, but you get to a finite number at the very, very end. Very, 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 very small number. And medium of rest is 1, and medium motion is 1. Okay?
Correct.
Yeah. And I'm not going to spend too much time on the others, okay? But now, we run into some problems, right? So, here's my first problem. Cosmic space is finite. Can you see this? It's finite, right? Yeah? But number of souls are infinite. Hang on a minute. If number of souls are infinite, as cosmic space is finite, well, where do all the souls exist? Can you see that? So, okay, so what does that tell us? Yeah. Yeah, so we'll talk about that in a minute actually. This is very interesting. Can you hang on to your question for a minute? Okay. So, in fact, we'll answer it now, right? Souls can occupy different size of bodies, and I think it was Sandeep I said it, and can pervade the whole of cosmic space. So at the last moment of liberation, the soul has still got a little bit of karma. It actually takes the size of the whole universe, so the last bits of karma can be shared. So different souls can exist in the same space. Do you understand that? Can you all see that? So you can have infinite souls existing in a fixed amount of space. Can you understand that? Everyone get that? So you can have infinity inside a fixed amount because they're all existing at the same time. And so can matter. Okay? And the smallest time unit number is called Avelaka. Okay? And 5,800 of those is 1 second. So this is the interesting thing, right? Which is really interesting from a scientific point. What Jains believe is that outside of this space, there is uncountable space outside of it. But even our souls, when they get liberated, we never leave this universe. We still are in this universe at the top. So there's something beyond even where the souls exist in the universe. Okay, we'll never leave this universe according to James, no matter what. Okay? So I mean just think about the thinking involved in being able to kind of just think at that level. Okay, I'm going to stop now, and I'm sure I've gone through this really, really quickly. But if anyone wants, come and speak to me. I'll give you the 10-week course in Infinity, and you come and join me. It's a really good course. Right? Any questions?
How does this relate to what we see through telescopes and things, and what we understand space to be?
Tell me any contradiction so far in what we've heard.
Well, I don't see heaven in wherever we're looking.
But we haven't talked about heaven here.
So you don't see what?
I'm talking about the universe and the Jain universe and how it's split. We don't see any of that. So.
Yeah. The thing is that if my concept, my view is, this is a personal view, that is a soul something you can actually ever see? Can you actually measure it? It's beyond measure. So there are things that we will be limited to in terms of what we can measure. Very interesting concepts like dark energy, dark matter. I mean, look at those things. There is definitely energy in the universe that no one knows where it's coming from. It's incredible, isn't it?
In fact, I feel that this Dharmashtika and Adharmashtika, science has not reached that stage. They are still finding out. But I was watching this series called Genius, which is on Albert Einstein, and when he discovered how light travels, and he says, when light comes from the sun, how does it move? Because obviously it's a vacuum. How can something move in a vacuum? So there is obviously some energy, and he named it ether, that it's allowing the light waves to actually travel in this wavy pattern to Earth. So I just feel sometimes when I read all of this that, you know, there's still science, bits that Western science has not found, which perhaps Jain seers had seen or understood. My other theory is that this whole thing, this Jain universe, is very similar to a man standing with his arms like that. And I feel that the Jain, we are a microcosm of what the Jain universe is. So the way we are as people, and if you look at the chakra, how chakras work, and you know, we have this chakra here, which is where Kundalini actually it gets activated, then that is Sidshila. And if you go down, it goes all the way down to hell. So this is, you know, if you look at it from that perspective, it's quite interesting.
Okay,
Sorry,
time, no, it's fine. I think we're done in terms of time. I'm sorry to rush through that, but all of you guys are so clever, intelligent. I have to say, it was about my 6th lecture when I thought, I'm now beginning to understand this. So you all got it in 1 hour. Very impressed. So, summary: Jains believe that there are 6 substances that make up the universe, and they have a number associated with them in terms of amount and division. Jains are very much in tune with scientific discoveries, and that kind of ties up with this science conference they had, you know, in terms of on substances. And Jains are thought to be the first to establish infinity, and then there were multiple types of infinity. Okay, and remember, this finite but uncountable was definitely proven to be a Jain concept. Number of grains of sand in a beach, number of blades of grass in Ishmael's garden. That concept of innumerable was definitely created by the Jains. So that's pretty amazing. And I only found that out about 6 months ago.
In fact, all of this stuff, if you look at other Indian Eastern philosophies, you know, whether you take Buddhism or whatever other ones, no one has talked about this stuff in this detail as Jains have. No one, no other philosophy.
Jai Jinendra. So we do Chattari Mangalam. Chattari Mangalam. Arahanta Mangalam, Siddha Mangalam, Sahu Mangalam, Kevali Parato Dhamo Mangalam, Chattari Lodhama, Arihanta Lodhama, Siddha Lodhama, Sahu Lodhama, Kevali Parato Dhamo Lodhamo, Chattari Sharanam Pavajami, Arahante Sharanam Pavajami, Siddhe Sharanam Pavajami, Sahu Sharanam Pavajami, Kevali Paratam Dhammam Sharanam Pavajami.